My name is Emily. I've been married to John for 7 years, and we have a daughter who is in elementary school. I never thought it possible to love someone so much that I would feel like an apple of my eye. But becoming a mother really made me feel that way. However, as soon as it was known our first child was a girl, my mother-in-law immediately started demanding we have another. It seems a girl wasn't good enough for her. Though, considering my husband's family is full of salaried workers with nothing in particular to inherit, I don't see why she insists so much. Why aren't you making a second one? These are the words I hear every time we visit my husband's parents. We're leaving it up to nature. Leaving it to nature is not good enough. You have to make a boy no matter what. Sigh. Despite what she says, my husband has become uncooperative in trying for another child, thinking one is enough. Even when I relay what his mother says, he just tells me to ignore her, saying she'll give up eventually. About 2 years after we got married, there was talk of living with my mother-in-law. And despite feeling gloomy, I accepted it. She doesn't even dote on her granddaughter. And, as expected, I was blamed daily over the child issue. You failed again this month? You're really a failure of a wife. Why can't you have children? Don't you want to make them? I couldn't possibly say that my husband wasn't participating. Being attacked like this every day. I was starting to get fed up when my mother-in-law said something outrageous. John is going to remarry with Ruby, you know. Eh? Remarry with Ruby? Who's that? Hasn't John told you? No. John's lover. What? Looking at my husband. He was either playing games on his phone or just not participating in the conversation. I looked back at my mother-in-law. Emily, I wondered if she had lost her mind. As I was puzzled, my mother-in-law shouted, "So hurry up and leave." Sorry. John hasn't said anything about this. And yet you tell me to leave? My mother-in-law, annoyed, forcibly involved my husband in the conversation. Even if he's dragged into it, it's not like he has a lover. That's what I thought. However, Ruby's matter?
Yeah.
I'm going to remarry her. So we'll be getting a divorce, he said as if switching from radishes to buying potatoes. What do you mean? There's no what or how about it. Hurry up and move out. A new wife is coming. Can you explain, please? Mom's already said it, hasn't she? My new wife is coming. So, you mean you've been cheating? It's not cheating. That's right, it's serious. Serious. When did such a person come into the picture? That's betrayal. Can't help it. It's because you're not making children. So, you had an affair because I didn't have children? And your mother too knew about this. Exactly. That's why I've been telling you all along to have a boy. But you just talk about leaving it to nature and not really trying, and this is what happens. Look, here's the divorce paper. Submit it. Suddenly, my husband takes out the divorce papers from a drawer, places them on the table, and goes back to looking at his phone. How can you be playing games on your phone at a time like this? It's not a big deal. You're making too much of it. It's just some pieces of papers, that's all. I can't understand how it's come to this. You say it's all about having children, but you're not even trying to make one. Even if we need to have a boy, we can't have any children if you're not cooperative. So it's John's fault now? Aren't you the one to blame? Why am I to blame? It's decided by the market that if a husband isn't motivated, it's the wife's fault. What? What does that even mean? I thought, terribly confused. That's why I was against this marriage. In the first place, you were too old. When you said you wanted to get married, you were 28 years old. I was worried whether you could even have children, marrying someone so late. And look, it turned out exactly as I feared. But we did have a child. We have a daughter. And I'm saying that's not good enough. A girl will eventually marry off. That's no use to us. Children aren't born to be useful, are they? How impudent. That's what I hate about older women, they're so insolent. That's terrible. I've always listened to what John said. I've come this far without opposing anything, just to keep peace in the family. See, that's what's boring about you. Boring? Me?
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, you just say yes, yes, to everything I say. That's boring. On the other hand, she has her own opinions. I think I like that. How could this be? I accepted living with my mother-in-law, and despite what she said, I never fought back. All of this was for the sake of my husband. And he calls that boring? Besides, at this rate, we can't expect to have a boy. I'm not expecting anything from you anymore. After all, you're 35 years old. No matter how hard you try, it's impossible. John would prefer a younger woman anyway, she said mockingly. And then it hit me. Ever since getting married, I've been belittled like this. Enduring my mother-in-law's terrible words. Compared to the neighbor's daughters-in-law, called a failure. Criticized for different cooking tastes. Scolded for not being able to educate our child properly as she grows older. Even when seeking help from my husband, he never stood by me. What were those 7 years of endurance for? To end up with my husband's affair. Since when have you been having an affair? And where did you meet this Ruby? Since when, huh? About a year or so after we got married. 6 years ago. Around the time I gave birth.
Yeah.
Well, you know. Like Mom says, younger women's skin feels better. How low can you go? Where did you meet her? Mom introduced us. Your mother. That's right. She was working part-time at a shop we always go to. And I thought she'd be just right for John. So, I approached her. Does she know you're married?
Yeah.
She knows. But she said it's fine if we're getting a divorce. Knowing that, she still had an affair. How old is she? Being so interested in her is just admitting your defeat. So let's leave it at that, shall we? No, my husband has been taken from me. I have the right to ask, don't I? Sure. She's 30 years old. That's 10 years younger than you, isn't it? So, she'll definitely give us a healthy baby. How dare, are you saying you encouraged this affair just so she would bear a child? Well, once she has the baby, they can just live as a family. I'm not thinking it ends with just having the baby. The proof is, I'm telling you to leave because you can't have one. That's just. The other woman wants to get married too. All that's left is for you to leave. Now, you understand, so hurry up and write it. Urged to receive the divorce papers quickly. Being rushed over and over, I started to lose my ability to think. Then, I saw my daughter at the doorway, looking anxious and watching us. My daughter is watching. Huh? It's not good to talk about such things in front of the child. Let's discuss this another day. Oh, it's fine. It saves the trouble of explaining. Plus, after the divorce, she'll have to understand her parents' divorce anyway. But, it will hurt the child. It's fine. Stuff like this happens in every family. Parental divorce is normal nowadays. I couldn't help but stare at my husband in disbelief. What is he saying? Doesn't he care about our child at all? I thought but couldn't put it into words. That thought made me feel foolish for clinging to these people. And then, as if another part of me emerged saying, just write and get it over with, I found myself receiving the divorce papers. Right, I'll submit them. That's acceptable, right? Yes. This is good. Now, please leave. What? Just like that. Well, it's strange for a divorced couple to live in the same house, isn't it? The new wife certainly wouldn't like it. So, please leave. But, to leave so suddenly is. Well, we want you to leave as soon as possible. There's a child involved. It's not as simple as you make it out to be. Well, I thought you had the resolve since you received. And yet, you're not prepared at all. Then, leave within a week. That's fine, right, Mom? It can't be helped. The moment I received them, it felt as if the past 7 years were erased with an eraser. And I felt a chill, taking my daughter into the bedroom. Then, my husband, humming a tune, left the house as if going to his woman. Following him, my mother-in-law seemed to have gone out as well. And the sound of the door opening and closing could be heard. In the suddenly quiet house, the only sound was the fridge's motor, chillingly loud. My daughter clung to me, crying. It's okay. There's nothing to worry about. I won't let it end like this. Yes, we'll start everything from here. Convincing myself, I made a phone call, and before a week had passed, I had packed up and arranged for a truck. A pile of cardboard boxes was stacked at the entrance. Seeing this, my husband and mother-in-law openly expressed their joy. So you're finally leaving, huh? Well, it took you long enough. But, so many cardboard boxes. You're not planning to take the home appliances with you, are you? Can't you see? Not a single appliance has been taken. Well, how spiteful. I can see that, but just to make sure. Since it includes our daughter's stuff, it would amount to this much. That just shows how much money I've spent on them till now. What a waste it has been. Really. Wasted money on useless people. Make sure you haven't forgotten anything. Even if you do, don't expect me to send it to you. I'm fine. Well, that's good. The house will feel bigger now. It's been suffocating living with you until now, so this is refreshing. As the truck arrived and the loading began, the two sat on the living room sofa, with the mother-in-law turning on the TV. John, without showing any regret for parting from his daughter, was playing games on his phone. Emily, I thought to myself, what kind of people are they? To maintain such a cold attitude until the very end. Even when it's about saying
Goodbye.
to our precious daughter. Though there was some heartache, it vanished thanks to their attitude. Thinking that everything ends now and a new beginning is ahead, I felt refreshed. My daughter, holding a stuffed toy, watched me intently as I gave instructions to the movers. Her face was filled with undisguised anxiety, and her eyes welled with tears. Emily, I encouraged myself, it's okay, there's nothing to worry about. With that thought, I stroked my daughter's head. Once everything was loaded into the truck, my husband and mother-in-law came to the entrance. Is it over? Yes, it's finished.
Ah.
Finally leaving, huh? Now we can invite her over. Yes, finally. Thank you for everything till now.
Yeah.
Just hurry up and leave. Saying
Goodbye.
here at the entrance, considering everything that's happened. Can you come to the truck, please?
Ha!
Why should I do such a thing? We've been a family for 7 years. So I thought it's the least we could do. Since this is
Goodbye.
really. You're so oddly conscientious. We're happy as long as you leave. Yes, which is why I'm asking you to come to the truck. I don't have any regrets about leaving. Mom, it's fine. It's all over with this. Oh, is that so? Well, if John says so, it can't be helped. Saying this, the mother-in-law put on her sandals and stepped outside. John followed, slipping into the remaining sandals and heading out. I took my daughter's hand and, stepping outside, gave a firm nod to the movers. Then, the mover said, "Sir, please get on." Hey? Why should I get on? It's okay, please get on too. Wait, why do I have to get on? Because you need to. You'll understand once you get on. Wait. I don't want to, what are you planning? The mover pushed them towards the truck as if loading them on. Despite their reluctance, they couldn't raise a fuss without attracting the neighbors' attention. Concerned about public image, they ended up getting on the truck as pushed. John. What is this about? I have no idea. But making a scene now would just be embarrassing. Let's just get on and we can come back later. Well, that's true. It would be nice if you could come back. Saying that, I closed the truck's door and prompted my daughter to wave at them. The mover nodded, started the engine, and began driving the truck away. My daughter looked puzzled as she watched the truck leave. But I turned to her with a smile and said, "Shall we have a snack?" Once inside the house, I calmed my daughter down by putting out the snacks I had bought earlier. It was an out-of-place, small cake. Let's eat. While eating the cake, I explained to my daughter that her father and grandmother had moved out. She must have thought she would be the one to leave this house. She was surprised by the turn of events, so I reassured her that everything was okay. Soon, my daughter's smile returned. Apparently, she wasn't sad about the departure of her tyrannical father and cold grandmother. It seemed she could tell who was in the wrong even at her young age. About an hour later, as expected, I received a call from my husband. Hey. What the hell is this? Oh, have you arrived already?
Yeah.
We've arrived. But this is her apartment, isn't it? That's right. You said you wanted to live together, so I sent you to her place. You should be thankful. How can we possibly be thankful? How did you even know this place? It's simple, a detective can find out that much. A detective. I needed the address to send you off, after all. You're supposed to be the one leaving. I never said I was leaving. Please live there with her from today. Good for you, getting to live with her so soon.
Ha!
Don't mess with me. I'm not messing around. I'm very serious. Why the hell? My home is there. Exactly. That's our home. What are you doing? It seemed they were on speaker, as I could hear the mother-in-law's voice gratingly. Nope. You seem to be mistaken, but this house is mine. Don't mess around. The one messing around is you. Introducing a mistress to your husband and encouraging an affair, what a foolish thing to do. We're not talking about that right now. You were supposed to leave when we divorced. So, you, the wife, should be the one leaving. Perhaps you haven't been informed? Informed about what? Hey, where are you shouting from? It's a disturbance to the neighbors. Shut up. The movers left the cardboard boxes piled up in front of the apartment and left. If you don't want your belongings to get soaked by the dew, you better come quickly. There's no need for me to go, as those boxes contain all of your belongings. What? That can't be. The mother-in-law continued to scream hysterically. It's shameful. Now that you're living there, you wouldn't want the neighbors to think a crazy woman has moved in, right? Who's crazy? Anyway, please live there from today. After all, we're strangers now. No way, we're coming back. and will kick you out of that house. That's not possible. If you enter the house without permission, I'll sue you for trespassing. What a woman. You're the one who's insane. You would know if you asked John. Why don't you ask him? What about? About who owns this house? There's no need to ask. That house was bought by John after we got married. It was second-hand. But he said it was good enough. That's why I moved in too. Oh dear, what a big lie. It seems you can lie so easily about not knowing about the affair. So a lie like that is nothing for you. What do you mean? The truth is, this house was built by my parents before we got married. After my parents passed away, I lived here alone. When we decided to get married, I didn't want to leave my home filled with memories. So John said we could live here. Even when you mentioned moving in, I thought, well, it's a big house, so why not? Lies. John said he bought it. Second-hand, but nice enough for us to live together. Now, think about it. How could John's salary afford such a big house? And move in right at the time of our marriage? Especially when paying for the wedding was a stretch. So, this house is mine. You have no right to claim anything here. Not even the size of a needle's tip. Maybe you should ask John? John? What's the meaning of this? From the other end, the mother-in-law's voice trembled. But as usual, John seemed to be ignoring her, pretending not to hear. John. Stop playing games and answer. John becomes deaf when it's inconvenient for him. Must be really inconvenient now that his lies have been exposed. John. Say something. Are you okay with being ridiculed by such a woman? Understood. Hearing John's faint voice, it seemed he had taken over, reluctantly starting to argue. Sure, it was your parents' house, but now that I'm living here, it's mine. Such a childlike argument. You were allowed to live here because you were married to me, right? That's why you had permission to stay. The same goes for your mother. Well, that's true, but Yet, you lie about buying it. Just by saying that, it doesn't become yours. The property is all in my name. But, when we divorce, aren't assets supposed to be divided in half? Indeed, that's generally the case, although that topic never came up till now. But you see, this house was inherited by me before we got married. Even if it was inherited after marriage, it's mine by inheritance. That means it doesn't become communal property. Too bad, no need to divide it. That can't be true. If you think it's a lie, you could always check. I'm only saying what the lawyer told me. Hearing my husband's resignation, the mother-in-law, perhaps realizing she was losing, burst in again. But there are still appliances and furniture to be divided, right? Typically, yes. But all the appliances and furniture in our house were used by my parents. Of course, we've bought some new items. Like a toaster for about $30. Did you want it? Should I give you $15? Or do you want to give me $15 and take the worn-out actual item? I don't need it. The junk John brought when we got married is packed in boxes. And so is yours, everything. It's all packed in boxes. Normally, it would be stuff to throw away, but knowing how much you two value things, I didn't want to get complained at for throwing it away. So, I packed it all, rest assured. Well, thanks. I guess. Thanks to that, the moving costs weren't cheap. It cost quite a bit. But since all the appliances are mine, at least I saved on their moving costs. So that's why the mover charged us such an amount. It was expensive, wasn't it? I was surprised when I saw the estimate too. But since it's not my money to spend, I didn't worry about it. But to have so much. Yes, indeed. Most of it was practically trash. Like socks with holes. Worn-out sneakers, stretched-out t-shirts. You should have just thrown that stuff away. Oh, what did you say when I asked if I could throw them away? It's a waste. That's the problem with you, you throw away everything. That's what you said, right? Yet you never wore them again and just kept buying new ones. So, I couldn't throw them away. Any complaints? So you're saying we have to live in this cramped apartment? I don't know if it's cramped or not. But you wanted to live with her, right? Good for you. How can we live in an apartment with all these boxes? Well, that's your problem, isn't it? You and your mother-in-law chose an affair, after all. Hey, that's too harsh. The divorce will be finalized, so it's none of my business now. And remember, this isn't the end. There's still more to come, so be prepared. What? What else is there? Surprised by my words. My husband and mother-in-law were left in shock as I hung up the phone laughing. Later, John called back, sounding distraught. stressed. It seems his mistress was furious. What's this all about? I wasn't expecting you to just show up like this. I didn't expect this to happen. She sent us here with all the stuff. Then take it back with you. With all these boxes, it's not that simple. That's not my problem. I thought we'd live in your spacious house once your ex-wife left. That was the plan, but it's not possible anymore. Why not? It's your house, right? Just take it back. Well, actually, the house is in my ex-wife's name. What? You said it was in your name.
Yeah.
But there were some complications. I thought it'd be cruel not to leave her the house when we divorced. That's ridiculous. So what now? How are we supposed to live here, in such a tiny place? And with all these boxes? That's...
Yeah.
Then buy a house. If that's not possible, rent a spacious apartment right now. With your salary. Well, that's a bit difficult. So noisy. It's already cramped in this apartment. No use complaining about it. We just have to live here now. What? Are you serious about living here? Then you should pay 2/3 of the rent. Why would that be? Obviously. You're not even married yet. And you show up with your mother expecting to cohabit? If we're cohabiting, you should pay rent proportionally. And food and utilities, all should be split per person. What a cunning woman. Cunning? You're the ones trying to live without paying anything. Most of these boxes belong to your mother, right? I don't know what's in them, but do you really need all this stuff? Aren't they filled with unnecessary items? I even want a storage fee for these boxes. They're taking up most of the space here. I never knew she was the kind of woman to say such things. So that's the situation. I don't even want to go back to that apartment anymore because of my mom and girlfriend war. And we're not even married yet. Oh, really? Sounds like fun. It's no joke. Mom says she hates living with such a woman. And she absolutely refuses to accept her as her mother-in-law. It's so bad that we're getting complaints from the neighbors for being too loud. I had expected it to turn out like this. Living with that mother-in-law, I can't count how many times I wanted to yell at her. Still, I endured for my husband's sake. And now, why should they endure without even being married? And on top of that, the claiming from you. What's with the child support and others? Well, it's only natural to be asked for the trouble you caused. And since I'll be raising our child, it's only natural I'd ask for child support. How am I supposed to pay that? If I pay that, I can't even afford to move. Then, you don't have to pay. If that's the case, I'll just hire a lawyer. Just be prepared that if I hire a lawyer, it's going to cost you even more. I'm going to hire a really good one. And I'll be billing you for the lawyer's fees too. Why? Because they're good. Please, don't do this to me. From behind John, I could hear his mistress and mother-in-law arguing loudly. And, as expected, he never paid child support or other payments. Realizing this was hopeless, I eventually hired a lawyer. The lawyer, true to their reputation, secured a promise for monthly child support payments and a lump sum payment. Considering John's irresponsibility, I made sure to include a clause that if he missed a payment for even a month, his wages would be garnished. This enraged the mistress, who couldn't understand why he had to pay, leading to an even bigger battle. She blamed the mother-in-law for initiating everything, while the mother-in-law insisted it was the mistress's fault for becoming involved with a married man. Eventually, the mistress, unable to stand the mother-in-law any longer, handed John the bill for the child support and kicked both of them out. Kicked out, the two ended up staying in a cheap motel for a while. But the mother-in-law complained about not being able to rest properly, so they managed to contract a cheap apartment. However, it was next to a cemetery, which the mother-in-law constantly complained about feeling creepy. Despite calming his mother down by reminding her at least they had beds to sleep in, his mother's hysteria seemed to reach abnormal levels. He became so stressed he couldn't relax even when coming home tired, eventually succumbing to depression, unable to work or even go outside. As a result, child support payments stopped. But considering how they disregarded me and my daughter, I only wish for them to suffer more. Meanwhile, my daughter and I are living peacefully and happily without them, enjoying the wonderful life of being divorced.